Deer, cat, dog, sub sandwich, turkey sandwich, hamburger, pancake. He loves blueberry pancakes. Gun. He hates guns. Thunder. The only thing I've ever seen truly terrify him. He comes to sit on my lap when it thunders. Fence, elk, moose, bear, blabber. A kind of candy I sometimes share with him. Telephone, bug. He sometimes studies bugs as they crawl along the ground, never bothers them, just walks along studying them. Baby, snake. He respects rattlers but doesn't fear them. Rabbit, fly swatter. He leaves the room if you say the word. I don't know why. And several more Anglo-Saxon expressions he's heard me use when required, such as get the blank horse off my blank leg before I blank bleed to blank death. And he knows them out of context. I have often been having a conversation on the phone about, say, the weather, and inserted a word. I think it's going to be cow a nice day, with no emphasis on the word at all. Whenever he is in the house, he will rise, even if sleeping, and come in and look at me or wait by the door. More, he listens to everybody all the time. If several people are in a conversation and just one of them says a word, again, just in a normal tone, Josh will come in and look up and wait. It can be very disconcerting if you're having a conversation in which you might use one of the words a lot. I had a sick horse and called the vet and used the word horse several times in the conversation. And each time Josh went to the door and tried to get out, finally coming back to me and biting me on the leg to get my attention, gently at first and then harder when that didn't work. And finally, he's learned this is particularly effective, grabbing my kneecap and exerting enough pressure to make me utter a profanity. Usually I react then and do what he wants. He has wonderful limits. He will do anything I ask and many things I tell him to do, unless he thinks they are too stupid or repetitive or boring. He will retrieve, for instance, and do it with great elan, leaping to fetch things thrown in water, over land, in brush, far away or near, but only 5 times. If you throw the ball the 6th time, he will get it, look at you, then leave the ball in his mouth and never bring it back. He hides it. If you want to play again the next day, you must buy another ball. I was recently moving some old hay bales when I lifted one that had been near the back corner of the storage area. I found 11 tennis balls and 4 super balls and a professional retriever's canvas dummy bird. Josh had hidden them all when he thought the game had become too stupid. Josh is wonderfully facile and will humor me and learn dog tricks, up to a point. I taught him to sit up and hold a cookie on his nose until I commanded him to flip it in the air and catch it. He loves cookies, and he learned the trick in less than 10 minutes. And he did it 5 times. The 6th time, he looked at me over the cookie on his nose as if I was completely insane, then lowered his nose, let the cookie drop on the floor, and walked away. And we don't do the cookie trick anymore. Not unless I want to sit up on my hind end and put the cookie on my nose and flip my head up and catch the cookie. We don't. Living with Josh is a never-ending lesson in how we can truly catch up with somebody who is smarter than we are. One day I was moving some sacks of feed. As I got down to the last sack, I saw a rat run in back of it and hide. There was nowhere for it to go, and Josh was there, so I looked at him and grabbed the bag and told him, get ready now. There's something there. Are you ready? Ready? Until he was excited enough to jump out of his skin, and then I moved the sack and the rat made its break. Josh grabbed it without hesitation, but didn't kill it. Holding it in his mouth, he looked up at me in total disgust, as if to say, you fool, I've got a rat in my mouth, then turned sideways and spit it out. He distinctly made the sound p't as he did it, and then walked away from me. It wasn't finished either. The next morning, in my boot, there was a dead gopher. It had been dead for some time and smelled as rotten as old, long-dead gophers dragged off the highway can smell. And I shook it out in the trash and thought, fine, message received. I discovered one day by accident that Josh is wonderfully, wildly ticklish on his ribs, and sometimes he seemed to be getting too serious about things. Say 2 or 3 dozen times a day, I will grab him and flip him on his back and tickle his ribs while he woof laughs and wiggles and air snaps his fangs, always just missing my hands and arms. It's a ritual we have both come to love, and sometimes when he's feeling a bit glum, he will come up to me and flop over and invite me to tickle him. Life is not always up, and once I had about a 3-day run of luck that was all bad, and I never smiled. Some complete jerk shot a new border collie pup I had gotten for Josh to train. The pup's name is Walt, and he has more or less recovered, but it was so stupid and ridiculously violent, the idiot just shot him to see if his gun worked, that it made me sick of the whole human race for a time. I also had a friend die and couldn't get to his funeral in time. Just misery. At the height of this, I was sitting in an old easy chair with my legs stretching out thinking dark thoughts, and Josh came up in front of me and sat, studying me for a full minute, his eyes clear and calm. Then he seemed to shrug, turned around so he had his back to me, straddled my boot, then backed up my leg until his teeth were even with my foot. I had never seen him do anything like it and thought he might be going crazy when suddenly he reached down, grabbed my boot, and with a mighty lunge jerked me completely out of my chair on my butt and then jumped on me and pretended to be biting my ribs back and forth, tickling me. Enough of the blues, by God, it was time to laugh, and I did, rolling on the floor with him, and we tickled each other until we knocked over an end table and had to quit. Then, his job completed, I was cheerful again. He was sober once more, sitting quietly listening in case I said a word he needed to respond to, watching me, anticipating where I would go, what I would do, out ahead of me like an infantry point, no, like a spirit, like an extension of my mind. If possible, Josh is always with me, sleeping, awake. I even took him on an author tour once. He is always there. When I ran sled dogs, he tried to go, put himself in the team, and when I threw a harness on him, he pulled wonderfully. But he was too refined for that work. The sled dogs are wonderful, but they are primitive, basic, grandly prehistoric, and animal. It was like putting a neurosurgeon in the middle of a professional hockey team and expecting him to be able to function, so I took Josh out. That's a great comparison. It was like putting a neurosurgeon in the middle of a professional hockey team. A last picture of Josh. I'm riding a horse, leading a pack horse up to the Bighorn Mountains out of Story, Wyoming. All mountains are beautiful, but there is something about the Bighorns that is particularly wonderful, and I have trained one horse to carry a pack so I can head up and spend some time alone wandering, looking. Well, not alone. The horses are there, of course, and they provide some company, and there's Josh. When I left the sled dogs because of my heart and went to horses, Josh fit right in, as I should have known he would. At first he trained along on rides, just at first. Then he saw that most of the problems with horses came from the front. Deer, snakes, moose, bear, mountain lions, anything that would scare the horse and make them shy and throw me, which happened several times. Then he moved out on his own volition to the front. Josh knew his job was to lead always, to handle problems, to run ahead, out there about 40 to 50 yards, trotting up the trail, leading bear off, turning moose and elk away, dodging around snakes, doing all this day in, day out, until the mare knew him, understood what he was doing, and trusted him. I think in a way the mare came to love Josh because she would sometimes come up to him when he wasn't looking and nuzzle the back of his head as if petting him. But that one picture of him is always clear in my mind. Head and tail down slightly, body relaxed, but still somehow tensed and ready. The Bighorn Mountains wild across the sky above us, and Josh trotting up the trail ahead, looking back at me on the horse to make sure I'm coming. Gary Paulson said that Josh would fetch a stick or a ball 5 times, but never 6. Why do you think he did that? Do you think Josh can really count? Take a moment and think of that, please. Your written response today. Gary Paulson had several different types of dogs and used them in different situations. Which dog do you think was his favorite? Give your reasons.